Welcome to Jets Rewind. I'm Marty Schupak in Valley Cottage, New York. I'm joined by my two close friends, Ralph Schrager up in Belmont, Mass, and Ray Clifford out in Marysville, Ohio, on the outer edges of Columbus, Ohio. How you doing, Ray, out there?
Oh, wonderful. Bring back up. We had a little late blast of, I won't say winter, but it was down in the 30s last night.
Yeah,
And
that's
so I was like,
cold.
okay, enough of that crap. Let's get on to the warm
Oh, it was
weather.
great for running today, I have to tell you. It was already too hot a few days ago. And
Yeah.
today I ran like a 30-year-old. It was great.
Good for you, Ralph. All right. Anyway, we are less than 24 hours removed from the 2025 draft. We'll just read each pick, and then the Jets have a number of undrafted free agents so far. I'm sure there'll be more, and be some other invitations to camp. I believe they're probably going to have a rookie camp either this coming weekend or the weekend following within the next couple of weeks. But in the first pick, they picked Amon Membo, Missouri, the tackle. Second round, they picked Mason Taylor, LSU, tight end. Third round, cornerback Azir Yia Thomas, FSU cornerback. Fourth round, Arian Smith, the Georgia wide receiver. Fourth round,
Fifth round. Oh no, fourth round. Yeah,
Fourth round,
right. That's
Malachi
right.
Moore, Alabama. Fifth round, Francisco Morgoa, Miami. Fifth round, Tyler Barron, Miami. Now, let's just give me your initial reaction. I'll give you my initial reaction. I just thought it was kind of very plain vanilla. I spoke to Ralph, and actually I spoke to Ray too, and I think we all agreed that at least one of the picks, and maybe even a couple, were reachers, especially this wide receiver, Arian Smith, who some had projected in the fifth. Some people had him projected in the sixth round. So, again, I think it was a plain vanilla draft. I'd be shocked if Mambo and Mason Taylor are not almost immediate starters. And I do like the third pick, Thomas from FSU, though he did not clock great on the 40. He's a pretty good player as far as instinctively and changes the way he changes directions. Ralph, let me have your immediate reaction before we get do a deep dive.
Yeah, I thought it was a kind of a mad draft too. Like I said, the first two picks were right what everyone expected, and I thought, Muji, was thinking, I'm going to pick these guys. Everyone expects me to pick them. So if they go bad, there's going to be I'm not going to be able to take much for blame for it because everyone was on board with those picks. The third round pick was interesting because yeah, he does a 4.58 40, which and I'm glad to hear Aaron Glenn say that, football speed is more important than that stuff. He's got some flaws to his game. We'll get into it later. The fourth round pick, Arian Smith, I guess Muji said he thought there was going to be a run on speedy receivers, but there were still others out there, Royals and Isaiah Bond never even got picked. I think he should have gone for a more polished receiver. I've been watching a lot of film on this guy Smith, and I saw a bunch of his drops. It was not pretty.
Ralph, just tell me, was he the fourth best receiver on the board this year?
Well, he would have been the fifth if Malachi Corley came out this year. By
Okay.
the way, thank God the Jets seem to think they have to draft a Malachi every year.
Really?
Let's hope this one plays more than three plays. Uh, and the two Miami guys, I like the linebacker. He looks like a player to me.
Right.
But overall, yeah, you always get so excited for these drafts, and then when it's over, it's like, what was 3 months of waiting for this, and that's what it is. It's like,
Ralph, would you have been tempted to draft Shador Sanders in the fifth round? Because
uh,
I did a 180.
I
First, I
yeah,
wanted no part of it, but then I said, you know what? If you're paying him fifth round money, you're not going to be committed that long, really. What's your feeling?
it depends. And the situation the Jets have with Justin Fields, I absolutely would not. Because even though he's a fifth round pick, the minute Fields had a bad game, people would be shouting for him. And it's just not the way to run a team. If he was on a team where there was an established starting quarterback who was safe, yeah, you could develop him and he'd be an asset to trade, but no, not for the Jets situation. No, no way.
Okay, Ray, what were your feelings about the draft picks right
Didn't
away?
really have a didn't really have a big the main one was the first one, and that was the one I wanted to see, if we were going to go for something other than a lineman. I was happy they got a lineman. Um, I don't, I won't say that I disliked any of the picks per se, but like when they picked Smith 4 picks later, Pittsburgh took Jack Sawyer, and I've been wanting him.
Yeah,
The Steelers.
I hate that. And he's perfect for Pittsburgh. He'll be great there.
And then I was just trying to see if it was the last round or the sixth round when Buffalo traded up right in front of us. And I'm like, does that mean they thought we were going to take TJ Sanders, which maybe we were, a defensive tackle? Because why else would they trade up when, they were picking right after us?
They
So
were they leapfrogged from
yeah,
oh, ooh.
they traded with the Bears and went up 1 pick ahead of us.
Well,
And
they know, I guess I'm sure they didn't know whether the Jets were going to take him, but they know that the
didn't want to
Jets have
chance.
have a need for that. So,
Yeah.
the teams are always hooked into that. Yeah.
I'd say if I say anything, that would be my one disappointment that we didn't take a actual defensive lineman like a tackle as opposed to an edge. We keep drafting edges every year. It's kind of like we were drafting quarterbacks every year for a while. Now we're drafting edges, and it's like, how about stuff in the run? Because that's where
Yeah.
it seemed like our
Well,
defense
Ray,
was struggling last year.
you, exactly what I've been saying, and I'm going back to last year in preseason when I said I was nervous about their defense against the run, and going in now, I'm nervous too. Could I let you guys in on some breaking news that is somehow indirectly related to the Jets? As you
Sure.
know, Shador Sanders got a prank call from the supposedly from New Orleans Saints, saying that he was drafted, and apparently they discovered who it was. It's none other than Jeff Ulbrich's son, Jax Ulbrich. It was just reported from Ian Rappaport too. So he's in,
Where's Jeff Ulbrich? Is he in Atlanta now? Where is he?
I believe he's in Atlanta. Yeah.
And
Jeff
is his son involved in football or is he
I
just
have no idea. His son's 21 years old. I don't know his involvement. I don't know.
I heard it was kids from Ole Miss because
That's
because
what I
that,
heard
that
too.
when Jackson Dart got taken ahead of him.
Yeah,
when did he receive the call during like what point in the draft?
well, I hopefully it wasn't the first round.
Oh,
So
I think it was in the second day.
second round,
I
which
think it was
is
on the second day.
look, whether you're a Shador Sanders fan or not, and all these stories are coming out about how bad he did in interviews. These things you can't do this stuff. It's pranks that you don't want to do. These are people's lives and livelihood. So, he's going to have to pay some sort of price, but we'll see. But anyway, what else on the draft? Ralph, you mentioned you saw some films. I don't want to turn off Jet fans too much, and I just want to mention they probably already know because it was circulating all over the internet that Arian Smith was a sleeper for Coach John Gruden, who thinks that he has a chance to be something special. And one of the things I liked, Ray, too, is what he said is that he's a really, real hard worker. But I'm not a huge fan of Gruden sometimes because I saw him compliment that who was that round pick the quarterback from Penn State?
Geno Smith.
No,
Yeah, I remember he did that with Geno. I love Geno Smith. Oh
yeah.
boy,
So
he was.
I don't put a lot of faith in him. So, but
Penn State there.
say
You mean
that
the one out of
Oh,
Penn State?
Hackenberg.
Hackenberg, yeah, he
Oh
was
my
on
God,
his
you like
boat. Yeah, I
Hackenberg?
know.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh,
So,
God.
but anyway, let's hope it works out. But talking about that, because I was looking at the undrafted free agents. Well, I'm going to go through that right now. And apparently they like receivers that drop a lot of balls because they got a guy from Rutgers, Dymere Miller, wide receiver, who's supposed to be good, but he drops a lot of balls. But let me quickly go over this undrafted free agent list, and we'll get back into the draft. Uh, Quentin Skinner, wide receiver from Kansas. He's like about 6'4". Donovan Edwards, running back from Michigan, who I really like. Dean Clark, um, Fresno State. I guess he was a safety. Jordan Clark, cornerback from Notre Dame. He's, I guess, Ryan Clark's son. Is that right?
No,
Yep.
yeah, he is. Not guess. He definitely is,
Yeah.
apparently. The DNA test came in positive.
Okay. And a defensive
Listen,
tackle from West Virginia, Batorma Mubah. Brady Cook, the quarterback from Missouri. I was a little surprised. Ralph, were you surprised he wasn't drafted?
You know, I, I'm surprised Edwards wasn't drafted too. It's a strange thing. Some guys just slip through the cracks. These teams, I don't know, they don't have a need. A lot of teams didn't need quarterbacks this year, I guess.
Yeah. Um, by the way, and I mentioned it last time, they've got to give an update on this Jordan Travis, the quarterback. I don't know what's going on there, but they're definitely they're stonewalling it because Muji's last statement was he doesn't comment on some people's individuals' medical condition, but something is going on with this guy. So I don't know if he's going to be a post June 1st cut or I don't know what's happening.
I don't know.
Go
I
ahead.
can't see him being a post in first cut. Let's see if he's on the field, when, all this stuff starts up in the training camp. He may not be in this next one coming out, when is it next week or when is it they all get
It's either
together after,
next weekend or the weekend after. I actually think it's next weekend.
he may not be on the field then, but when the real training camp starts up, if he's not out there, if they still have him, if he's not out there, then obviously there's an issue.
What they have is a rookie mini camp for like I believe 2 or 3 days in May, and then the veterans mini camp in the first week in June or the second week, and then there's that long gap till the training camp. They also picked up this Jamarcus Weston. They put him down as an edge and a special teamer from Florida. What's interesting is I think they paid him the most as an undrafted free agent, mainly for his special teams prowess.
How much did they?
200,000 up front, yeah,
Because somebody
guaranteed.
got like 185
Yeah,
and
he
some,
got 200 guaranteed.
200 guaranteed.
Yeah, for our specialty, that was really kind of strange. He's a. I would have expected that Edwards would have gotten the most. He was the
yeah,
most highly rated running
yeah.
back
Oh,
in the
yeah,
undrafted free agents.
right. Jamal Pritchard, a wide receiver from South Alabama. Aaron Smith, a linebacker from South Carolina. Jarrett Bartlett, a linebacker edge at Cincinnati. Gus Hartwig, a center from Purdue, who's played in about 50 games. I don't expect a lot from him because I got sucked in last time, this Purdue offensive lineman. Here's an interesting guy. Leander Wygant, an offensive tackle from Germany.
Oh yeah,
And the reason being because he's going to be on the team because every team in the NFL has a waiver for one foreign athlete that doesn't count against the roster. So he's going to definitely be somewhere.
he did
They give
38,
his size.
38 reps with the press. That was
Yeah.
5 more than the closest person. Yeah.
Right. And Ralph, if I remember right, I believe the Patriots had a offensive lineman from Europe for a number of years who was pretty good.
Sebastian Bass from Houston. Yeah, he was German. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see
Yeah,
what
the German guys love football, so if we're gonna get one,
Did
Germany's
you
the
see
place.
that? Wasn't there a German reading one of the draft picks for the Jets? There was a Scottish guy, those two brothers, and then there was a German guy, yeah, in some pub with a bunch of other
right.
Jets fans.
Yeah. Dymere Miller, I mentioned that he ended up at Rutgers. I believe before that, he was on this other school. The name escapes. Mammoth in South Jersey. Broke all types of records there. And
Of who?
yeah, Caden, you'll be surprised how many players came out of there, Ralph.
Yeah.
Caden Davis, a kicker from Old Miss. Ray, I would be shocked if Greg Zerline's on the team.
Yeah, I don't think he is. And this guy actually was a very good kicker. So
But they also have another kicker on the roster. So
the
that's
Carlson, who was there at the end of the year and
yeah.
did pretty
Then
well. I
didn't he,
think he
didn't
missed it.
somebody pick him up after we cut him though?
I don't remember.
I'm not sure about that. So any reactions to any of these? Ralph, we'll start with you because you usually do a deeper dive.
Well, I mean, I'm still not done with the regular draft picks yet.
We'll go back to that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Edwards is a very talented runner. From what I've seen of him, he actually reminds me stylistically of Breece Hall. He's sort of is very patient and he waits for his hole, and he's pretty explosive. But like Breece Hall, his weakness, and they said this, it's so funny, is on short yardage situations, he has to like just hit the hole, and he's got to learn to do that. Great receiver, great
Yes.
receiver.
And
Yeah.
Ralph, he ran, I believe it was 2 or 3 years ago, the playoffs, two long runs.
Yeah, yeah.
Division.
Oh, yeah. He's had a lot of big plays and big
Yeah.
games. The question is why wasn't he more productive this year? I don't know if was nicked up or what. I think he was a captain, so I don't think it was a personality character thing. But the fact that he didn't have it, it leaves the Jets the opportunity to have him undrafted. Um, the funny thing is watching highlights, all you see are these huge holes like for Izzy Abanikanda, and he just explodes through. I wanted to see some like short yardage runs between the tackles, see how physical he is, because that might be, the problem with him, because he certainly has some physical talent there. He always has in high school as well. And he's
Right.
and he's and he's been really productive in big games. So, you're wondering there usually is something, but maybe he slid through, because you watch him play and you think, he could be in that running back room easily with those other guys.
Yep.
Uh, Pritchett, I really like, the little guy from South Alabama.
He's a punt returner too, I believe.
Yeah, he's similar size and physical attributes to Xavier Gibson, although I think he's a little more talented. He can break some ankles out in an open space. So it'll be interesting to see if he gives Gibson a run for his money in his this year. And of course, we don't know what they're going to do with Malachi, the first Malachi the Great. The other guy who's Brady Cook is. I'm happy we got Brady Cook. I think he can be a developmental guy. He's pretty good. He's pretty productive. Really, really athletic. Guy can fly, and he's got fearless. Another the one thing that bothered me about the film I watched is they kept showing all these long passes, which were great. But I wanted to see like 20 yarders over the middle, long out patterns, to see if he can do that with his arm. So I'm not sure about his arm strength. It looks decent. I don't know. I don't think it's elite though. But he certainly can handle himself behind the line of scrimmage. And he was fairly productive in the SEC.
Ralph,
So,
did you look into Quentin Skinner at all?
yeah, I did. He's a tall, lanky guy, a little faster than I expected for a guy with that build. I don't know about his hand. If he's got good hands, then I'd be excited about him, because, as you said, Marty, we seem to like guys who drop balls a lot. But he's someone we might have some possible potential with too.
Yeah, I saw an interview with him. He's a little bit off to me.
Uh-oh. I would have loved to have you interview Shador Sanders, Marty. You're a big
Yeah.
interview guy.
You would have been thrown out. Ray, I want to know if you have any opinions on any, but before that, and Ralph had mentioned Xavier Gibson, gun to your head, do you think he's on the roster in the first game for the Jets?
Who are you talking
Now
about?
I'd say yeah, but you know, until I see how these guys are performing that we've brought in out of training camp, I'm going to say Gibson's still there. He's still got some value. If like what Ralph was saying, if the guy can, the one undrafted free agent can look good as a returner, then it might be a little more iffy. Because
Yeah.
I haven't seen enough out of him as a receiver to say he's definitely sticking. So it's going to come down to probably if he's still the return guy, he'll be on the roster. If we feel he's the best return guy we got,
Ray,
he'll still.
I know you're a huge Notre Dame and Ohio State fan. Do you remember at all Jordan Clark, seeing him play?
Yeah, I didn't follow him closely. I didn't know until later in the year that he was with Clark
By
there in the
Ryan Clarkson. Yeah.
his son. But Notre Dame had a good defense, and he was part of it. Now, that was their coach was outstanding. That's why he went to the NFL after the season, Al Golden. But um, he's got talent. I mean, I guess he had a really bad pro day, so he didn't get drafted. But you know, what I don't really have a problem with them bringing anybody in as an undrafted free agent. I'm like, hey, throwing mud against the wall and see what sticks, But because there are a few guys I like the receiver. He's 6'4", 200 pounds, average 20 some yards a catch. So
Yeah, really. He's like Rich Castor.
yeah, so
Ralph,
I'm okay
do
with
you know
that.
anything about the quarterback from Kansas? Because sometimes production is
Yeah.
dependent upon the quarterback.
Well, yeah, no, I don't know much about
Okay.
him.
No, I also I like Mitchell, Donovan Mitchell as well, and
Edwards.
this defensive tackle they brought in out of West Virginia. He was actually originally on Penn State, so at least we got a defensive lineman that way, and maybe he'll show that he's got
Right.
something
Yeah.
to bring to the table.
But, Ralph, the Jets moved up with their, I guess, their second, fourth round pick to get this. Now, my paper's listing him as a defensive back, Malachi Moore from Alabama. I believe he was a captain for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, he's a safety, but
He's,
I
Mike,
thought he was a safety.
yeah,
that's
he's a
what I thought.
safety. Yeah.
Okay. What was your opinion about them moving up for him, and what do you think of this guy?
You know, I always find it funny when teams move up that in the later part of the draft, because everyone's going in different directions and there's so many players out there. And for them to just focus on that guy, I thought, he's a solid guy. I think he has limited athletic ability, but he's a character guy and he plays hard. Sometimes those guys work out. You know, they didn't give up much, so I don't have a big problem with it, but he doesn't really move the needle much for me.
Okay. And Ray, your opinion, Mason Taylor, I think he's going to start from day one. What do you say?
Do they list him as an edge?
No, no, Mason Taylor, the tight end
Oh,
from
okay.
LSU. Yeah.
I'm thinking of other guy. Well,
And I know we like Jeremy Ruckert, but
Not
well,
really.
don't own
we
any
did like
doubt.
him.
I mean, I'd like to see Jeremy Rucker have a bigger role and see if he can actually contribute. I until we traded or didn't trade, but let Conklin go, I didn't think we needed to draft a tight end, but I wish they'd have held on to Conklin, quite honestly. But yeah, he'll probably start right out of the gate. I mean, at least it looks like it from this point. I mean, he's another one with some lineage there. Jason's son.
Zach Thomas's
Played at
nephew.
a bigger school, so and so yeah, I mean I'm okay with it. I don't have a real problem with any of the picks per se, but um I didn't necessarily think that was something we needed as much originally, but I wanted a defensive tackle. I wanted one on both sides of the line, and so I'm hoping this guy on the undrafted guy pans out because I don't want us run all over again. That's what I was looking at.
Well, I'm hoping that there's a different scheme will take care of part of that problem because they were
Me too.
terrible. The coaching was terrible last year for the
And
defense.
if Jermaine Johnson comes back healthy, that'll help,
Yeah, yeah, you
obviously.
mentioned Marty or Ray that it seems like every year we take an edge rusher, but yet we really are thin on our edge because we were counting on a guy coming back from an Achilles.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Will McDonald, and that's it. And they got the guy Weaver, who's a journeyman. So they really do need someone else. Um, but the team with as many holes as the Jets have aren't going to fill them all.
No.
But
No.
I think they address several big ones, and in that regard, if the guys work out, it'll be
Yeah.
good. I was thinking of you, Marty, when they drafted AZ Thomas. the cornerback, because you were one who was saying, I mean, you might have been two, Ray, saying we need a cornerback. And I was thinking they just spent all this money for Brandon Stevens. I mean, they got to start that guy. That would be insane if they didn't.
Did they play him? Wasn't he a safety like 2 or 3 years ago?
I don't know, but I know he's a cornerback the last couple of years, and that's I assume what they got him for.
I think it's
Uh,
terrible. I think it was terrible last year when
you know, I mean, I wouldn't mind taking a chance on him, but why did they pay him so much? I don't understand that at all. That was the head scratcher so far for Muji. And but so this kid Thomas, I was going to say, Marty, good news, bad news. He is a cover guy and he's good, even though he's a 4.58. He is very good at that. He's very similar to Sauce. He's tall and lanky, maybe a little more meat on him than Sauce, 6'2", 197. The bad news is he's not a good tackler.
oh, I
But
hate that.
the good news is though he's a willing tackler, unlike Sauce. And his problem is technique. Where Sauce is he doesn't want to take on anybody. He just sort of hides, and that's a bigger issue. So this guy, if they work on his technique, I think he can be okay there. He also doesn't get any interceptions like Sauce. And part of that might be because they probably don't throw to him on a horrible team like Florida State. The other side, the guy was probably a weak link, and they probably weren't like going at him a lot. But
Ralph, what about our guy from the Canadian Football League?
yeah, I know Stiggers. I hope that he doesn't get lost in the shuffle. You know, the funny thing is, they're drafting this kid Thomas, who was very highly regarded, by the way. In consensus, he was a second round pick, they thought. I mean, the Jets drafted him 73rd, and there was not one big board where he was, wasn't considered a higher pick than 73rd. So I'm thinking, if Sauce Gardner has a lousy year this year, I mean, maybe they'll move on from him, and this guy will be their new
But
shutdown.
they exercised the 5th-year option on him, on all three guys.
Yeah.
Gardner, Jermaine Johnson, and Garrett Wilson.
Well, I'm
That was
okay
just
with
a
that.
statement.
I'm just worried about them, going to a long-term contract with him at this
Right.
point.
Well, I want to ask Ralph one more thing, and Ray, I got a good question for you. Ralph,
Ooh.
this guy that I had a little bit of hope for, I guess he was from LSU, I believe. Bernard Converse. He just
Yeah,
never.
right. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Another one. They liked him. The thing is, with a new regime, guys, Converse they liked, and I think he showed a little bit, but he had injury problems. But with a new regime, it's like, you never know what their attitude is toward him or to Xavier Gibson, because they're not their guys. So they might just move on from some of these guys. And Stiggers, I hope they take a good long look at Stiggers.
he's
But
a
you never
great
know.
tackler.
Yeah,
Great
but
tackler.
yeah, yeah. If you could clone him with or combine him with Sauce, you'd have a nice football player.
Yeah.
That's what I like about having Aaron as the head coach is that he was a DB, he was a scout, he was all these things. So I think he's going to give them all a fair. I think he's really going to look into them before he just goes, oh well, you're not my guy, you're out of here. I think he'll give them a real shot. I hope anyway.
Well, I expect to give him a shot, but I think, you know, if it was Douglas there, even if they were struggling a little, he'd probably give him a little more, time. Whereas I
I'm
think
thinking is
he'll
Aaron.
have a shorter leash on guys
Yes.
that aren't his.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Aaron will have some idea of, can I teach this guy something? Can I
Yeah.
give him some insight and get him to improve? So I like that about him. So that I think that I don't think he'll just offhand go, oh, you're not what I'm looking for. I mean, I think he'll give him a real see if he can work with him.
Ray, I want to ask you a question, and I want to hear Ralph's reaction. And Ralph will get back into the draft deeper. But Ray, I started thinking yesterday, after June 1st, and you could walk me off the plank. Maybe I'm looking at rose-colored glasses, but I really believe it could solve a big problem if after June 1st that they somehow, and I know they restructured Alan Lazard, he's 30 years old though, but I still think Amari Cooper has some gas left in the tank. And if they could get him for like on a 1 year prove it deal, I would do it. What do you think, Ray?
Um, I wouldn't I wouldn't see a problem with it as long as it wasn't like, yeah, some outrageous money involved. But I mean, yeah, I think he's still got something left. And if any of these guys they brought in as, the draft pick or the undrafted free agent doesn't look like they're panning out at all, yeah, we need something. Um, we definitely need something on the other side from Garrett, and we can't, rely on Lazard per se. So I'm hoping the draft pick works out, because he sounds like he has a lot of potential, or the undrafted free agent. But we need somebody on the other side from Garrett, take a little of the heat off of him and give teams somebody else to worry about as well. So Cooper, I think, would be a good one, but tell me how much he's going to cost.
Well, that's it. And he's like 2 years removed. I guess he had like 73 receptions with Cleveland. And the last 2 years, he was nicked up a bit. But what's your feeling, Ralph? You think it's good?
Is he a free agent or is he,
Yeah, he's an unrestricted free agent.
well, I mean, if you get him, you cut Lazard, and Lazard's money could go to him, which is not bad money. I
Well,
wouldn't
they
pay him.
just restructured Lazard, so that's not.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, yeah, but yeah, up to a certain point. I have my doubt that they would do that though. This front office seems to be aiming at younger players, and I don't think they're gonna. I don't think they're gonna have that all-in attitude for this year. I think
Right.
younger
Oh,
players, developing players, and you know, if they have to take their lumps a little this year, fine.
Okay. Let's get back to the draft. Ralph, if you could do any sort of deeper dive into any of these guys,
Yeah, the Arian Smith thing is, interesting. There have been track players, track stars who have come into football, like Lamb Jones and Nehemiah and Curtis Dickey, who were not football players, and but there have been a few that have. I wasn't. I thought Bob Hayes was overrated, but he was totally a vertical guy, but he was all right.
overrated. He had over 20 yards of reception.
Well, so did Homer Jones. Homer Jones had the highest reception yards per reception. But he was limited in pace and what he could do. He didn't have much of a root
Right.
tree.
I
They
understand what
throw
you're saying.
but he was effective. Um,
mhm.
Now the Jets had a couple of guys way back when who were really fast, like Rich Castor, who used to be able to catch great passes, but he dropped easy ones.
Yes.
And you know what? You lived with it because he was a game breaker.
But
And they had
he got a little better hand-wise.
yeah, yeah, he
Not
did.
great. He got a
Yeah.
little better.
Wesley Walker was a track guy who never caught a ball in his hands. Everything was let get into his body. He never had good hands, and he never really did anything over the middle. And yet he had the same numbers as Cliff Branch, who's in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
It was just always amazed me that this guy could beat anyone long, even though that's exactly what you knew he was going to do. Now this guy Arian Smith catches balls in his hands, but he also lets some go right through his hands in some deep stuff. I don't know if it's a hand-eye thing or a concentration thing or whatever. He probably can get somewhat better, but I'm sure it'll always be an issue. I think what it's going to come down to is a cost-benefit thing. Is he going to give us some real dynamite stuff so we live with some drops? I mean, he's got to show that, fairly quickly if he's going to drop balls. With Alan Lazard's a possession receiver, so a guy like that dropping passes is just unacceptable. This guy, if he's going to take the top off and get some long bombs like Richard Castor used to do, then you live with it. So I think it's just a cost benefit thing. They're going to have to decide eventually.
Okay, Ray, any other thoughts on Arian Smith before we get into any of the other guys?
No, not really. I'm okay with the pick, and yeah, like Ralph said, it's if if he's good enough, you're going to accept that he's going to drop. Well, I mean, Garrett drops him once in a while too. You're not going to have these guys who are all sure-handed and everything, but if they aren't dropping him all the time and killing you, then
How
making
did Malik Neighbors end up the year? Because I know he was dropping a lot at the beginning of the year, Marty. Did
yeah,
he
he was.
get better at the as the year went on?
He did. He still was dropping them, but
Wow.
if you look at his situation, neighbors, I mean the quarterback situation of the Giants, and he ended up having over 100 receptions. If really, that's amazing when you think about it too.
Yeah.
He had some key drops, but look, if the Giants stabilize their quarterback position, he's another Garrett Wilson. You know, those two guys are almost interchangeable. They're
Yeah.
phenomenal. Yeah. Um, Ralph, any other thoughts? I mean, did you look into Tyler Barron at all, or
Yeah, look at Tyler Barron. You know, an edge rusher. He doesn't look very explosive. Obviously, he's a seventh round pick. You know, these analytics guys can come up with anything to. They had. I saw this stat where against good competition.
fifth round pick, by the way?
Yeah, is he fifth?
Yeah, the Jets only had 5 rounds, but go ahead.
Oh, I think they have a sixth round pick at the end.
No, they traded away to move up for
Um,
four. But go
well,
ahead.
they had two sixths actually. I thought they traded one and I had the whatever. He was a late pick. The statistic was pressured against good competition, or however you define that. His pressure rate was 15.5 and Abdul Carter's was 11.2 or
I saw
something.
that.
It was like, yeah, okay. So why was he the second pick and this guy is late in the round? I mean, the expression there are lies, damn lies, and statistics, and
Right.
analytics takes that to a different level. You can make anyone
Oh,
sound like a
sure.
star. So,
All these stats came out making like, Brady Cook look like Dan Marino also after the draft, which was funny. Yeah. So anyway, all right. Anything else on anything that the Jets did with their draft picks or with their undrafted free agents, or any comments you heard from Muji
kind
or
of
Becker?
expanding on what Ralph said with the statistics and everything. I was reading a little article on analysis of the first round picks, and two of them jumped out at me. One was the uh, the tackle that New England took, and they said the knock on him is his arms might be a little short. He measured out at six. What is it? 36
32 or 30.
and
Yeah, I don't know what the.
3/8 or no
Under
5/8,
34.
and the average is 60 or 33 to 36. And I was like, so 3/8 of an inch is gonna make this guy a horrible. And then I read about our guy, and Lance Zierlein of NFL.com said he measures out significantly uh, smaller for the average NFL tackle. So I just Googled it to see what's the average size, and because he was like he's 6'4", and so the average size is 6'5". So I'm like, you guys are getting to the point where you're measuring down to the last inch and acting like it might really be an issue. It's a matter of, do they have good technique? Are they athletic?
Yeah.
These are the things that matter. I don't care, and usually with the quarterback, it's the hand size. You know, his hands are too small, so they're afraid in cold weather he won't be able to hold onto the ball or something. So all this stuff, kind of like I always gripe about the 40-yard dash, all that stuff just drives me nuts because they get on the field and it's not relevant anymore. What's relevant is what they can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. And look, right, just like what you said, I like the comments though from Aaron Glenn with their third round pick that, he likes guys what they do on the film when they have the equipment on, not what they do in shorts. Anything else, Ralph?
Yeah, I was going to say and again about Arian Smith is he does go over the middle. He does get off the ball pretty off his guy pretty not bad. It looks like he's been working on his craft there. So I think he's better than the tip in those regards, better than some of these typical track guys who come in and can only run do a straight
Right.
line.
Straight line.
Yeah. So to me, it's all going to come down to the hands. How much is he going to hurt us as far as dropping?
Yeah.
The funny thing is, one of the first plays I saw, the quarterback throws a bomb to him and he overthrows him by a little bit and he lays out and makes a great catch parallel to the ground. And then a couple of times throws bombs where he leaps up and he like mistimed this jump and the ball went right through his hands. So it's like, it's like I said with Rich Castor, he can make a tough catch and then miss an easy one. So it could be frustrating, but like I said, if the first few times he gets the ball, he breaks one, 80 yards, it's like, okay,
Never didn't love them.
we'll live with it a little bit.
Right. But I didn't realize the Patriots drafted Mr. Irrelevant, Kobe Minor, a cornerback from Memphis.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Patriots, I like their draft.
Patriots had not only great draft, but they signed a slew of undrafted free agents. I think they had the most signed.
Yeah, well, is it quality or quantity? Most of those guys, 98% are useless. But Travion Henderson, I love. And when the third round was coming on, I was thinking the Patriots are going to take a guy that I want for the Jets, and they did. Kyle Williams, the wide receiver from Washington State.
Yeah.
I don't know if Muji would have taken him or not, but boy, I have my eye on him. And goddamn those Patriots. So they got some good. They got some good skill players, and don't be surprised if they pass the Jets this year.
Oh yeah, they're going to be a pain in the neck.
I thought Cleveland had a good draft because I thought they cleaned up when they traded back 3 spots.
Yeah, I thought that was.
But why they took Sanders, I'm not sure.
If you want to feel old, the age of the Jaguars coach is 34, and the age of the general manager is 34. So
well,
you feel a little.
I didn't like the trade though.
Them trading up.
Yeah, they gave up a lot
to go up 3 spots.
To go up 3 spots for a guy who, he's a very tricky player because how much do you play him? I mean, if he gets hurt, you have 2 holes to fill. I mean,
that's what I said. All these radio places were saying they got 2 guys for one. I'm sorry, yeah, they got 2 as long as he's on the field.
Right, and also I could see teams targeting him, like wearing him down, body punches,
Exactly what I thought of. If somehow they're on offense, and then the other team goes on offense and he's on defensive back, I go no huddle right away.
Right, that's true. But I have a feeling they'll have him on a pitch count on one side of the ball or the other. But
just
still,
don't say the word though. Generational talent. I don't want to hear it.
No, there's no generational talent in this draft. There might be, but we won't know until it happens. That's the thing. But he's going up against athletes now who are as good as he is on both sides of the ball. So it's not like college. So I tip my hat to the guy. He's talented, but I think trading up, all that draft capital for the idea that this guy can play both ways, I don't know. It doesn't seem worth it to me because I just don't think he will be a full-time player on both sides of the ball.
And Ralph, what didn't he get winded that one game where he was playing both ways? Was it against Stanford when that other receiver?
Yeah, I am more or whatever.
He schooled him.
Yeah,
he was just winded the whole game.
Yeah.
So, all right. Any other thoughts on the draft at all? Ray, Ralph, anything else?
363 days until the next draft, and
yeah, but
that's pretty much what we have to look forward to.
I could use a football season in between.
You could what?
Yeah.
I could use a football season in between.
Yeah.
And congratulations to the Knicks, and especially Karl Anthony Towns, who made 2 of the most incredible shots I ever saw in the last minute for the Knicks to pull it out. All right. So with that said, and that's it. Anything else, or we'll close it out for Ray Clifford, Ralph Schrager, Marty Schupak, and Jets Rewind. Until next time.